So I made 3 Olympic teams. I was a miler in track and field. And my 3rd Olympics, I had just run the fastest time in the world. And I was the one to win the gold medal. And the pressure was so enormous because I'd been dealing with an injury and I had just done a commercial for Nike. Everything was on me. I felt this pressure, like everything was weighing me down. And during that race, I was leading because I was in a panic. And you don't want to lead during the Olympics. You want to kind of hang back. So I'm leading. And I remember with 200 meters to go, feeling like something was gripping me. I couldn't move my legs anymore. It was like cement blocks, trying to lift them. And the crowd at the Olympics is enormous. I couldn't even hear the crowd anymore. All I could see was white spots. I felt dizzy. And I knew at this point I wasn't going to win the race. And everybody in my warped mind at the time thought everybody was watching TV that day to watch me race. Obviously they weren't, but that's how enormous this pressure felt. And with 100 meters to go, a couple runners passed me and I no longer was going to win that gold medal. And instead of finishing that race and coming in last, I was so humiliated that I fell on purpose. And I felt like, okay, now I have this excuse to why I fell. I'll just tell people I injured myself or I tore a muscle. And when I hit that track and my cheek was lying on the surface, and I remember thinking to myself, you just blew it. All your dreams, you had trained your entire life for this moment, and I blew it. And I didn't believe at that time that that would be the downfall of my life. That was the beginning of what was ahead for me. And I look back on life now after I've been through recovery, after I've been diagnosed correctly. I realized that that moment was actually a gift to helping me to understand the journey that I took. And running to me is a gift. I was blessed with a gift and I truly love it. But it's just a small part of what defines me. I feel like my best accomplishment isn't the running world anymore. It's being diagnosed with bipolar and going in and finding the right treatment, finding the right help, and now helping others. This is my best accomplishment. Besides my daughter having a baby, this was truly what I was meant to do, and I'm finding a purpose where I never thought in my life I would ever find. And so when he told me that I had to call the doctor or he was going to call the doctor, that moment in looking back was that, oh my God, somebody cares. Somebody is actually acknowledging that something's wrong with me. And that was a turning point for me, that there was something terribly wrong. People have to recognize their own voices inside their head. If something isn't right, you need to reach out for help. I know for me, I always thought tomorrow will be a better day, and I would put off getting help, and the next day would come and I wouldn't get better. And I know it's hard to reach out and ask for help. I was in that same position, but if you can reach out, this is how your life is going to change. And we all deserve an amazing life. And to get that amazing life, we need to reach out. We need to reach out to somebody who can truly understand us and not judge us and not put shame on us. That's what recovery is about, is to surround yourself with powerful, supportive people. I mean, honestly, my husband was the biggest key in my recovery. And it was interesting having my husband be the biggest, support in my recovery, because my husband took the time to educate himself and understand my illness. And many times we need our spouses to educate themselves so they can help us. So make sure the people around you understand your illness so they can be there all the time for support and for help. I feel very lucky to have had support. My husband and my daughter were there for me the entire time during my recovery. They didn't focus on the behaviors, they dove into the illness. And for family members, that is the best thing you can do for your loved one. And many times they don't want help. And unfortunately, you have to let them hit rock bottom. And that is very, very difficult. And I know that I was lucky. I know now that in my life, I have the greatest gift of all. And I couldn't figure this out. I couldn't figure this out while I was ill. But I have the two greatest things in my life that helped to make me better. And that was my husband and my daughter. I need nothing else in this world. As long as I have those two to support me, I was able to get well. I realized today through therapy that my parents weren't capable of understanding my illness, and I accept that. And that's been something that I've been able to move forward with and not hold resentment, because we have to realize not everybody is capable of understanding this illness, and you have to accept that. But you can learn about your illness, you can educate yourself. And that's most important. You can't beat yourself up for the people that won't support you. They're just not capable of understanding. I'm not capable of swimming across the ocean, so I can't expect everybody to be capable of understanding my illness, and that's okay. In order to move forward, you have to forgive yourself. And honestly, you don't have to forgive yourself for having a mental illness. I think that people forget that there are also many gifts from having a mental illness. And I know in my case, my creativity is a gift from my mental illness. I know my stamina and my drive. These are all part of the illness. These are the good signs that I cherish those. And I never look at myself as the victim and say, why me? Why did I get this? Absolutely not. This is something that is manageable, and I can live a healthy, happy life. But in order to do that, I needed help. I needed to reach out. And we're all very strong and powerful people, but sometimes there's a point where you absolutely cannot handle this on your own. And unfortunately, with mental illness, you can't always handle this by yourself. So don't be afraid to reach out and start changing your life forever, because you deserve that. I went through a relapse, and it was very, very difficult. But I had support around me who was there to say, it's okay. This is, again, part of the illness, this relapse. And be gentle on yourself, be compassionate towards yourself. It's okay. And again, I just had to get even more back into treatment and not be afraid to be there, because I knew it was changing my life. It was making me healthier. You know, even though now my running is so insignificant in what I've been through in my life, I now know, though, that my running actually is what prepared me to give me the strength, the courage to deal with this battle, this ongoing battle that I'll have for the rest of my life, is dealing with my bipolar. But I know the sports have helped me tremendously. And I always tell people now who have bipolar, like, find healthy coping mechanisms to deal with the triggers or lessen the triggers. But healthy coping mechanisms are, exercising, eating right, But for me, exercise was huge in my recovery. And luckily, I was able to continue throughout my whole recovery, which I said is ongoing for the rest of my life. You know, I never realized with my illness until I started my recovery that I was given a platform because of my running success and being in the Olympics, that I actually have a voice, even though every one of us has a voice. I'm very fortunate to be able to speak to others and have people listen to me and respect me and understand my illness. And that's been truly a gift, is to know that I'm helping others. And I know from a couple letters that I have received is that I have actually saved some lives. Somebody had told me in a letter that they were thinking about taking their life that night, and they saw something about my story and they decided not to, because they saw that there's hope and there's people supporting us. And you out there too, supporting us, and we can do this together. But you need that positive environment around you, not a negative, to get better. And that sometimes can be really challenging, to be able to get out of that environment. Well, I was home making some dinner, and my daughter came running in the door, and she was going, "Mom, Mom," and I'm like, "Is everything okay? What's wrong?" And she came in the door, and she was like, "Mom, I am so proud of you." And I said, "What did I do?" And she goes, "You saved a life. Daddy just told me that you got this letter saying that you saved a life." And my heart just melted, because here is my daughter understanding my illness completely and acknowledging that her mom has made something so positive come out of this illness that almost tore our family apart. There's always something on the other side if you're open to it and if you're looking for it. And I know in my recovery, I always believed that there could be something more. I didn't know what it was. And now finding out that the more is helping others, that's been the greatest gift of all. I found my moment of courage and called for help. Find your moment of courage. Call Balance Treatment Center.